I can't believe it is only November 3rd, 3 days after Halloween, and Christmas decorations are already in the stores, literally the day after Halloween. As a child, were you ever threatened with coal in your Christmas stockings? The tradition was that a naughty child received this fossil fuel, coal, from Santa. But in the Carbon Fairs period, coal was not a symbol of bad behavior, but it was a product of a very important period in terms of vegetation and the accumulation of coal. Carbon Fairs means carbon bearing. The significance of the name of the period comes from the coal depositions found covered during this time. The Carbon Fairs period is divided into two more subperiods: the Pennsylvanian, which is where coal was formed, and the Mississippian. The Pennsylvanian can be further broken down into four more subgroups under that. The Pennsylvanian subperiod was 323 to 289 million years ago, but as we all know, we're still able to use coal today for things such as electricity and fuel, and maybe even a stocking stuffer if you know any naughty children. During this sub-period, insects were much bigger than they are now, which is kind of gross to think about. But according to the National Geographic, dragonflies grew to be the size of seagulls as compared to what they are now, which is probably about the size of my hand, making an L shape with wingspan sideways. This was discovered from a fossil of a dragonfly that died 320 milligrams, also discovered by the National Geographic. Fossils during this time can be split into three categories: phenopsides, lycopods, and petrosperms. This period had a significant contribution to the evolution of reptiles, amphibians, and birds, which is what we all know today as the amnio egg. The amnio egg allows reptiles to lay eggs anywhere because the eggs hold fluid. Reptiles and birds have eggs that have a hard shell, but inside they have a amniotic membrane that holds the organism inside but also allows the organism to breathe. The National Geographic also said that the proof lies in the pudding. Just kidding. The National Geographic says that the proof lies in the Carbon Fairs tree fossils, which is where fossils of these organisms, the birds, amphibians, and reptiles, were found. The Earth was also shifting during this time to eventually form Pangaea. Pangaea was formed towards the end of the Carbon Fairs period. The sub-period also experienced glaciation, which is the rising and ebbing of the sea. So that means glaciation is the rising, falling of the sea level. It's the sea going towards the land and retreating back. The land during this time also had warm weather, which allowed these huge forests to form. The glaciation can also be seen from the alternating shales, and coal layers in rocks, which are the fossils in the rocks. And according to the University of California Museum of Paleontology, evidence of mild temperature can also be found in the lycopods, which are one of the categories of fossils found during this time, and large insects. The vegetation in these large forests includes plants such as giant club mosses, tree ferns, horsetails, and towering trees with strap-shaped leaves. The formation of coal derived from a combination of the vegetation, the glaciation, and time with heat and pressure. The glaciation, like I said, caused the water to rise and fall, but when the water did rise, it did not decay the vegetation. So eventually, coal was formed in the beds of the swamps, and the swamps were formed from the glaciation. The carbon that went into the coal was derived from seedless plants during this time. So, if you find any naughty children this Christmas season, be sure to tell them the history of the coal.